Is it a bird? Is it a plane? Oh, it's another Superman movie. Let's talk about it. Superman is written and directed by James Gunn. It is the first installment in the new DC universe, which is also being held by James Gunn, and stars David Cornsweet as our new Superman / Clark Kent, where he finds himself in a sticky situation as he must prove to the world that he is their protector after Lex Luthor turns public opinion against him. So obviously, guys, before we begin, this review is going to be completely spoiler-free. Might be talking about my full thoughts with spoilers on my Letterboxd account, which I'll be linking it on the description of this video. And let's just jump into the review. Now, yeah, walking into Superman wasn't the most excited, if I'm being completely honest. Firstly, I've never been a massive Superman fan to begin with. I've always sided with Team Batman and his entire Gotham City universe when we talk about, obviously, the DC universe. And speaking of the DC universe, the films that fall under this category have been bar maybe a couple few, have been a major disappointment. I mean, specifically, we're talking about Zack Snyder's films, the Justice League films, the Batman vs Superman, and obviously the latest Wonder Woman sequel, and the rest, and the most recent ones that came out over the last couple of years. They've been so underwhelming that the entire universe had to be completely restructured, and that's obviously when this universe and James Gunn comes into play with this one, which at the same time it brought me a little bit of hope that I was maybe gonna walk into a good movie to begin with, also because this is being all helmed by James Gunn. As I said, he's the mind behind the 3 Guardians of the Galaxy movies, which in my opinion have been one of the best of the whole MCU. A couple of years ago, he also made the Suicide Squad, which compared to its predecessor in 2016, it's just light years ahead of that film. It was one of my personal favorites of that same year when it was released as well. And after seeing it last weekend, yes, took me quite a while to think about this movie, guys. After seeing it this weekend, I can say that as a first in this new and restructured DC universe, it's a solid start. It has its fair share of issues, which I will get to obviously very soon. But yeah, as an introduction, as a first installment in this new universe, it's a solid start. With this version of Superman, James Gunn ditches the whole origin story of how Superman came to be, how he became Kal-El, how he was raised by his parents, how he joined the Daily Planet, how he met Lex Luthor, how he met Lois Lane. That we've already seen it 100 times before in previous movies, and here James Gunn puts us into the action straight away during Superman's 3rd year of action, where the public is in that honeymoon phase with Superman. If you are completely fresh with the source material, you are going to feel very lost during the first 30 minutes of this movie, which for me is the biggest issue I have with this whole movie in general. And even coming from myself, being a massive comic book follower both in books and movies, I also was a bit lost during those first 30 minutes, and I wasn't quite sure where this movie was heading in those first minutes. There's a lot of exposition thrown at you because it's setting up an entire new universe, since obviously the DC universe is being re-established. And even more so than that, there's an overabundance of characters introduced. And if you're expecting fully fleshed out characters, this movie is not going to be it, guys. And for a 2-hour and 10-minute movie, it just crams a lot of material in that runtime. I think it could have benefited from a longer runtime to get those characters to get fully simmered in that regard. And that emotional connection with not just Superman but also with the side characters, especially with the Justice Gang and with Lois Lane and the rest of the people at the Daily Planet, and also with Lex Luthor in general, despite how great Nicholas Hoult is. That connection is just completely missing. And speaking of Superman, it takes quite a while for Superman to get to fully unleash his powers, because he gets his ass kicked time and time again in the action scenes that are presented here. So it starts rough, but once its premise gets going, I was hooked for the rest of its runtime. This is a James Gunn movie from top to bottom. It is very vibrant, it is filled with color, it is especially filled with a lot of humor. It has kick-ass action scenes where you can feel every punch being thrown at one another. And most importantly, have a great Superman in the fray with David Cornsweet, a very charismatic David Cornsweet, may I add. And this is a refreshing version of the superhero. And what I really like about David Cornsweet and Superman in general here is that he's presented as an underdog rather this unstoppable force that everyone knows him as. And it's the most humanized Superman that has ever been portrayed on screen, in my opinion. As I said, he gets his ass whooped a dozen times here, and his relationships with the people that he comes across, especially when he is Clark Kent, are mentally challenging for him. So while the world is overstuffed, Superman's dynamics with the rest of the characters that he comes across are all very fascinating to watch. Rachel Brosnan as Lois Lane is as fantastic as Cornsweet. She is very compelling in the role. She has equal amounts of wit and depth that makes her character quite strong in her relationship with Clark Kent. And despite not having enough screen time together, both of their chemistry is very thoughtful and also very intriguing to watch. I really like the Justice Gang here, and it's a shame that we don't get to see them much in action because they have some generally fun moments between them, whether it's in the action set pieces or in the comedy, whether it's Nathan Fillion's Green Lantern or Eddie Gategi's Mr. Terrific, who in my opinion is my personal favorite of the three from the Justice Gang. With the case of the Daily Planet, definitely Skyler Gisondo as Jimmy Olsen, the standout. He has a hilarious but a very important subplot with one of the people working with Lex Luthor. And speaking of Lex Luthor, Nicholas Hoult, I've always rated this guy. He's one of the most underrated actors of the past few years. And he is fantastic here. He really captures that menace and intellectuality that Lex is known for. And you really feel his energy when his presence is there with Superman or with the rest of the characters present. However, I do feel that the script does let him down slightly, just as Clark and Lois Lane's relationship, his motivations as to why he wants Superman done and dusted, can come across unbaked at times, and that's because of the script during those first 30 minutes, as I said. And yes, Crypto the Superdog. I'm not forgetting him, guys. He's there. He's a bit overused, but he's a very good addition to this movie. He's funny, he's adorable, and most importantly, he's a very, very good boy to Superman. So overall, I had a good time with this one. Not the best Superman movie, however, it is a bit overwhelming for newcomers. It is a bit overstuffed with characters and exposition. And I forgot to mention this, the humor does overshadow its dramatic scenes at times, which it's always been an issue with James Gunn's movies. He doesn't let the emotional scenes simmer properly, and Jeremy Jahns said this absolutely perfectly in his review. But at the same time, the positives do overshadow the negatives, and there is a lot to like here, from David Cornsweet's charismatic portrait of Superman to the action scenes to the music score to the very fun moments in between. It's a very fun movie to watch, and let's hope that the rest of the movies that will come in this universe will be on the same level of this one, if not better. So as of right now, probably we'll get a higher score on repeated viewings, but as of right now, I'm giving Superman a 70%. So those are my thoughts on the new Superman movie. Guys, if you've seen the movie, I'm curious to know your thoughts on the comment section down below. If you like this video and want to see more, hit the subscribe button on the right hand side, and I'll see you for the next video.